I used to think the past was a distant place, a dusty corner of memory best left undisturbed. That belief crumbled on my last birthday, thanks to Cheryl. Yes, my sister-in-law, Cheryl, the queen of passive-aggressive remarks and smirking superiority, turned what should have been a joyful day into a battleground. We've always had history, Cheryl and I. She was 2 years ahead of Charlie and me in high school, and while Charlie became my high school sweetheart, Cheryl became my nemesis. Back then, she ruled the school like a self-appointed monarch, with her clique of equally cruel courtiers. Rumors spread like wildfire wherever she went, and victims of her wrath often disappeared from our hallways, transferring schools to escape her reign of terror. But me? I wasn't afraid of Cheryl. Even before I started dating Charlie, I saw through her bravado. Maybe it was because I spent so much time at their house, watching her throw tantrums over burnt toast or misplaced eyeliner. She wasn't invincible, she was just another flawed teenager trying too hard to stay on top. That perspective gave me the courage to stand up to her when no one else dared. And Cheryl hated me for it. Our battles were infamous, cutting insults exchanged in the cafeteria, icy glares during gym class. But nothing topped the fish incident. One morning, I opened my locker, and a tidal wave of rancid fish water and dead fish cascaded over me. The stench was unbearable, the humiliation worse. I didn't have proof, but I knew it was Cheryl. She had a knack for vengeance, and I had recently embarrassed her in front of her friends by calling her a brain-dead zombie during lunch. The laughter of her loyal subjects had stung her pride, and the fish revenge had her signature stench all over it. Fast forward to adulthood, and you'd think time would heal old wounds. But Cheryl hasn't changed much. After Charlie and I got married, my in-laws sat us down and begged Cheryl and me to bury the hatchet. For the sake of family harmony, they said. Reluctantly, I agreed. I figured we could manage civility at family events, polite nods, neutral small talk, no need for friendship. And for a while, it worked. Until my birthday. Cheryl arrived empty-handed, which was fine. I wasn't expecting much from her. But as I opened gifts in front of our guests, Cheryl announced with a smirk that she'd bought me an online cooking class. "It's just a joke," she exclaimed, her grin wide and unapologetic. A joke? I had been up since 6 that morning, cooking every dish on the table. The meal was my labor of love, a testament to my passion for food. Yet there she was, insinuating that my skills were so lacking that I needed professional help. I wanted to laugh it off, but the way she kept pushing, making faux-gagging sounds and quipping about needing to keep the bathroom clear in case the food didn't sit well, made it impossible. Guests shifted uncomfortably, some forcing out weak chuckles, while others avoided my eyes. By the time Cheryl left without so much as a goodbye, I was fuming. The peace treaty was officially over. Last week, Cheryl's birthday rolled around, and although I wanted to skip the event entirely, Charlie convinced me to go. "Just keep the peace," he said, his tone pleading. I relented, but not before hatching a plan to give Cheryl a taste of her own medicine. For her gift, I handed her a beautifully wrapped book, What to Expect When You're Expecting. It wasn't random. A few weeks ago, Cheryl had shown up at our house, unusually disheveled and insisting on a private word with Charlie. I'd obliged, stepping out of the living room, but curiosity got the better of me. Standing just outside the door, I heard snippets of their conversation. "I don't know what to do," she whispered, her voice cracking. "He's furious about it. We weren't ready, and now." The rest was muffled, but I got the gist. Cheryl was in trouble, the kind of trouble that could tear her carefully curated life apart. The thought of her struggling should have softened my resolve, but after years of enduring her malice, I felt no pity, only an opening. At her party, Cheryl's reaction to the book was immediate. Her face turned crimson as she ripped off the wrapping paper, and her eyes darted toward me, wide with fury. "Very funny," she said, her voice tight. "I thought you'd find it useful," I replied, feigning innocence. "Every woman should be prepared, don't you think?" The tension in the room was palpable. Her husband, who had been hovering nearby, stiffened. I caught the flicker of an argument brewing between them, low whispers, terse replies, a storm barely contained. Guests began exchanging uneasy glances, and before long, Cheryl retreated to the kitchen, her husband following close behind. From the hallway, I could hear their voices escalate. "Why would she give you that?" he demanded. "I don't know." Cheryl snapped back. "She's just trying to humiliate me." "Well, it's working, isn't it?" By the end of the night, the cracks in their marriage were on full display for everyone to see. Part of me felt vindicated, but another part felt an unsettling pang of guilt. Had I gone too far? Or was this just karma catching up with Cheryl for years of torment? As I sat beside Charlie on the ride home, his hand resting on mine, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had set something irreversible in motion. The satisfaction of revenge was fleeting, replaced by a gnawing sense of unease. Sometimes, I thought, the past doesn't stay in the past. It festers, waiting for the right moment to strike. And when it does, no one escapes unscathed. The dim light of the living room flickered as I sat on the couch, my fingers tapping against the armrest in a nervous rhythm. My thoughts swirled around like a chaotic storm, each one tugging at my conscience, questioning the decision I had made. The events from that night at the party haunted me, but in the pit of my stomach, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had done the right thing, even if it had blown up in ways I never expected. "Yeah, I know it wasn't exactly the most ethical thing, but I had to know," I muttered, barely recognizing the sound of my own voice as it echoed in the quiet room. I couldn't just sit there, waiting for Cheryl to tell me everything on her own. I had to hear it for myself. The words I had overheard from Cheryl and her brother, Charlie, replayed in my mind like a broken record. Her voice, fragile and trembling, had cut through the tension like a knife. "I'm not ready," she had said. "I don't know what to do. I can't do this, Charlie." I had listened, hidden just behind the door, the weight of her secret pressing against me like a heavy curtain. Cheryl was pregnant, and it was clear she was terrified. But what struck me the most was her desperation. She wanted a way out, and fast. Charlie's voice had been steady, calm, the kind of voice that suggested someone who thought they had all the answers. He told her, "You have to tell your husband. It's the right thing to do. If you still don't feel ready after that, then you can think about other options. But talk to him first." I couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt. Part of me wanted to tell her the truth, to stop her from making a decision that could haunt her forever. But that wasn't my place, was it? Charlie and I had talked later, just the two of us, and I could see the same confusion mirrored in his eyes. Cheryl's behavior had been off, but even more puzzling was her desire to handle this in secrecy. We both agreed she had to tell her husband, no matter how messy it might get. But then the prank, the book. What was I thinking? I'd wrapped it up, a twisted little gift to make her feel the same humiliation she'd put me through on my birthday. She never unwrapped it in front of everyone, thank God, but when she did, I saw her face fall. I hadn't known what would happen next. Who could have known that one joke, one single, harmless prank, could unravel everything? The next call was a punch to the gut. Tears, accusations, and venom dripped from Cheryl's voice as she screamed at me. "You ruined my life," she wailed. "I'll never forgive you for this." I couldn't even get a word in. She was yelling, each syllable a dagger, and by the time I tried to explain myself, the line went dead. She hung up, and all I could do was stare at the phone in my hand, wondering where everything had gone so terribly wrong. That was when my in-laws called. Their voices, strained, filled with disappointment, punched through the receiver. "You need to fix this," they said, their words pressing down on me like an iron weight. "Cheryl's marriage is falling apart. This could ruin everything. Her husband is already suspicious, and now you've made things worse. You need to talk to him. Fix it." How could I fix something I didn't break? I didn't even know what was going on. All I had done was play a prank, something I thought would be funny, but now everything was spiraling, and I couldn't stop it. I thought about Cheryl's husband, the one who was sterile. The one who could never have children, whose suspicions about his wife were growing louder with every passing day. I couldn't help but feel a bitter knot in my stomach. If she was pregnant, and he couldn't be the father, well, it didn't take a detective to figure out what had really been going on. But none of this was my problem. Cheryl had come to Charlie for help. She wanted him to terminate the pregnancy in secret, and for reasons I still couldn't fully understand, she had chosen to manipulate everyone around her to cover up her mistake. And yet, somehow, I was the villain here. "She's not ready to be a mother," I muttered under my breath, the words tasting bitter. "But she's willing to ruin everything for a chance at getting out of it without facing the consequences. How is that my fault?" Charlie agreed, mostly. "It was harsh, but she needed to face the truth," he'd said. "I didn't want to get involved, but we couldn't let her off the hook without dealing with the real issue. But now, after everything, the guilt was gnawing at me." The way Cheryl's husband looked at her when he discovered the book, his eyes full of betrayal, it was like watching a train wreck unfold, one I had set in motion without even knowing the full impact. The in-laws, though, they were relentless. Every call, every text, it felt like they were trying to drag me deeper into a mess that wasn't mine to fix. They insisted I speak to Cheryl's husband, smooth things over, tell him it was just a joke. But I couldn't. I wouldn't. Cheryl's actions had consequences, and she had to face them. She should have been loyal to her husband, I said aloud, my voice steady, though my mind was a tornado of doubt. If she didn't want this, she should have kept her marriage intact. And then the bombshell: Cheryl had admitted, during a heated argument on the phone, that Charlie's friend from high school was somehow involved. Someone from Charlie's circle of married friends. That was the last thing I needed to hear. Suddenly, the picture was coming together, and it didn't make me feel any better. If Cheryl had been cheating, if she'd betrayed her husband in this way, then the truth was something I didn't want to know. I felt a pang of sympathy for her, if she was really that desperate to hide her secret, but it quickly dissolved when I remembered the way she had manipulated Charlie. The way she tried to drag him into her mess. I had no idea where this would go next, but I had no intentions of getting involved any further. If Cheryl wanted to save her marriage, she needed to own up to what she had done, not make excuses or try to pin the blame on me. And as for my in-laws? Well, they could keep pressuring me all they wanted. I wasn't going to be the one to clean up her mess. Not this time. But still, as the days passed, doubt crept in like an unwelcome guest. Was I really the villain here? Was I the one who set all this in motion with a stupid prank? Could I have stopped it? Should I have? I didn't have the answers, and honestly, I didn't think I ever would. I told myself I'd just sit this one out. That was the plan, right? Let them deal with their own mess. But as Charlie kept going on about how this might destroy everything, how his family was unraveling, how this whole betrayal was eating him from the inside, I couldn't just stand by anymore. Part of me wanted to stay out of it. To be the bigger person, for once. But how could I? How could I just watch him suffer through this when I knew the truth, when I had proof in my hands, and he was left in the dark? I told him I might be able to talk to her, to convince her to come clean, to tell him she was just playing some sick joke. But I knew, deep down, I couldn't be dragged into that circus. I didn't want to be a part of it. I wanted peace. I wanted my life back. But when it's your family, it's impossible to escape. Yesterday, it came to a breaking point. We blocked all three of them. Cheryl, her husband, and the one person I thought I could trust. My mind is still spinning, to be honest. It felt right, but the weight of it still lingers in my chest like a stone. We're just done. Done trying to explain, done trying to make them understand. They crossed the line too many times. We had to protect ourselves now, no matter what the outside world thought of us. And of course, people in the comments had a lot to say, accusing me of being cold, unkind, even cruel, but they didn't know the half of it. Cheryl had been nothing but a bully in high school. I owe her nothing, and I won't apologize for what I did. Still, it doesn't make it easier. 3 days have passed. 3 long days, each dragging by like a year. But then, a bombshell dropped. Charlie found out who Cheryl had been sleeping with. His friend, one of his closest. I could feel the air in the room grow thick as he told me. That friend who Charlie had trusted like a brother, the one he confided in for months about his family's pressure, was the one who had been lying to him all this time. Turns out, it had been going on for over a year. Around the time of our wedding. That's what makes it so much worse. The betrayal? It's not just with Cheryl's husband, it's with one of Charlie's own. I've seen the man's wife before. She's always been so devoted, so proud of her marriage. She talked about him like he was the son. And now, I feel sick thinking about how she must feel. The truth is, we're still processing all of this. I can't even begin to imagine what Charlie's going through. He loved these people. He trusted them. But now, all that's left is ashes. We cut him off. We didn't need to tell anyone. We didn't want to drag it out into the light for everyone to gossip about. But the truth is out now. And I hope Cheryl's husband finds the strength to leave her. She doesn't deserve him. The proof? Screenshots. Messages. Evidence we couldn't ignore anymore. It's all there, in black and white. We're done with them. Finished. And no one will make us feel guilty for it. It's been almost 2 months since then. 2 months of silence. No calls, no apologies. Cheryl and her husband have disappeared from our lives. They tried to get in touch, I know, but we stuck to our guns. They wanted to make everything go away like nothing happened. But that's not how this works. We don't get to just sweep things under the rug and pretend nothing was broken. Then came the wedding. Charlie's cousin. Everyone was there, except Cheryl's little web of lies and drama. I had no idea how bad it was going to be. The tension in the room was unbearable. Everyone knew something was off. We could feel it in the air, like the calm before a storm. And then she did it. Cheryl, with her venomous words, started throwing lies our way. She couldn't let us be, not even in that moment. And before I could stop myself, before I could even think about the consequences, I snapped. We confronted her. We had to. No more running. I showed her the screenshots. All of it. And when I saw her face, when I saw her start to squirm, I knew there was no going back. Her world, that perfect little lie she'd been living in, started to crumble. But the worst part? The worst part was that this wasn't just a private confrontation. No, it was a public humiliation. I could feel the eyes of the whole family on us. Everyone was watching. They saw the drama unfold, and they couldn't look away. But after everything, when the dust settled, Cheryl and her family were the ones who had to leave. Not us. Maybe it wasn't fair, but it was justice. The worst part of it? She still had the audacity to lie, to say we were the ones trying to destroy her marriage, to paint us as the villains. But we weren't going to back down anymore. We weren't going to play nice. And when we walked away, it felt like we were finally free. 2 weeks later. It's over, but it's not. Cheryl posted the divorce announcement. A mutual decision, she called it. Yeah, right. Her entire family knows the truth. We know the truth. She can't hide from it. We heard the whispers. Charlie even told a few close friends. The story's out now, and there's no taking it back. But here's the thing, she's trying to act like none of it ever happened. Asking for privacy, asking for respect. But everyone knows. I don't feel bad for her. Not at all. She's been a bully for too long, and I'm glad we did what we did. If she wants to play dirty, we can play dirty too. And as for the inheritance? Let them keep it. They can have all of it. Let them support her for the rest of her life. It doesn't matter to us. We've got each other. And we're content. Charlie and I are living our lives, our way. And if we're the bad guys in someone else's story? So be it. We did what we had to do, and we won't apologize for it.